Canvas mistake number one, not considering how I was going to display this loose canvas roll once I finished the painting. For context, this is how I paint my canvases. I do it on loose canvas roll, I staple it to the wall, I put tape here, and then once it's time to display it at whatever gallery or exhibit, I take that canvas off the wall and wrap it on stretcher bars. The issues that I was having before is that I wasn't leaving enough canvas for me to get the full painting around the stretcher bar, so it just left the edges looking rough and jank. We're not even gonna speak on how I got this down by myself. We did solve that later on down the line. I'm gonna tell y'all more about that later, but let me introduce myself. Welcome, creators. I'm Aramis the artist, and this is my studio. So for the past few years, I've been sharing my journey here on YouTube, the ups and downs and the highs and the lows, but I also shared about my process, how I use loose canvas roll for a lot of my large scale paintings. I love painting large scale, colorful cosmic queens, as I love to say in my videos. And the queens have been ebbing and flowing. They've been turned into animals, creatures, and all sorts of pregnant mommy things. But every now and again, I'll sprinkle in a few little tips and tricks that help me over my journey. Now, I do have a previous video where I talked about how I use that canvas roll. I'm so glad to see that that video was so helpful for other artists and creators out there. And I feel like this would be a great time to share some of my mistakes with using canvas roll and some things that I felt that I could have did better. Okay, back to the canvas fails. So how I was saying in mistake number one, mind you, these are actually not listed in any particular order because it's kind of just all over the place. But I realized that I made this mistake once the painting was done. It was beautiful. I was ready to have my solo exhibit, which I show more of the behind the scenes in this video. But then I put all these details, all these ornate elements around the rim of the painting, not realize, I guess, of course, to a certain extent, I did think like, well, yeah, once the show comes, I am going to have to display it, but I didn't consider wrapping it around and how I was going to lose probably 2 to 4 inches from just the canvas wrapping process. So that was something that I should have considered in displaying it. But I also am currently working on another painting where I made another mistake, and it involved me overcorrecting for the error that I made in these previous paintings where I felt like I didn't leave enough room. I was like, I'm leaving inches, okay? Like, we gonna have more than enough room. The problem in which I did that to like help myself remember to not put too much detail on the edge, I put this dark gray line around the canvas. And so as I was painting over that, you could see that like dark line coming through. I didn't mind it too much because I was like, oh, it's fine. Once I wrap this canvas, you aren't even gonna be able to see some of those elements. But I realized throughout creating the painting is that I really love the piece in its entirety. So then I found myself with this thick, dark line coming through the sunset where I use a lot of light colors, a lot of yellows and oranges. So you can still softly see that dark gray line coming through some of those layers. Now, I did fix that and I'll show you all how I did it. Okay, let's discuss, because she feeling some type of way about this. Mind you, I thought I was doing it light, but it ended up being like a darker gray. And so now you can see it through this layer of paint. Totally fine if I was gonna wrap it, but now I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know what? Wrapping this much of the canvas, it just takes away so much. It takes away this transition, this ombre. I feel like it disconnects the story. I mean, granted, like the story is there. Like, I don't think it fully disconnects the story, but I feel like, man, I would really love to keep this. And so I'm gonna make an attempt to get rid of this line. So how I like fix different things, especially depending on the opacity of my paint. Okay, so like let's say for yellows and stuff, what I do love about Golden is that they have this marker here to show you the opacity of the paints. So each painting has these black lines on it, and then the team, they go paint a stroke of paint on top of it. So it shows you how opaque this is or how transparent. So you can see that you can still see these dark lines behind there. So that means that this is it's less opaque. It's more transparent. They actually have, do they have it on these? I think maybe that's more on the heavy body paints. Yeah. So on the heavy bodies, they show you like how matte it is, how opaque, how transparent. So you can see for this Quin Magenta, so the same thing with the black line. So this is pretty transparent. And they also show you that on this little graph. This is the marker for transparent. Over here is opaque. So it's really transparent. So whenever I'm using a transparent paint like this, you can really see what's behind it. So the same way these dark lines, it's still showing through this Quin Magenta paint. Literally whatever dark lines you have underneath will show through the same way this tube is. And so this is what's happening on this canvas. So here's my little trick. I don't share these secrets with everybody now. Okay, hold on now, here's my little secrets. Okay, I paint over it with white. Okay, because the white is super opaque. The titanium white, one of my favorite whites. Now, if you want something that is more transparent, zinc white if you're using golden. Okay, now titanium white, look at it. Look how opaque it is. So I go in. And so if I don't have titanium white, I'll use some other paint that is opaque, but on the lighter hue. And actually, I don't even want to use my titanium white. And this one's actually kind of running low. I'm going to go in, but I use that so much, I don't want to waste that. So I'm going to find something else that's lighter and just as opaque. Look at this one. Ooh. Look how opaque that Titan green pale is. Look at that on the chart. Look at that on the chart. It's all the way opaque. That's what we're going with. This is genuinely an experiment, okay? We on a journey together with this. But here's a technique that I'm gonna do, because what I do, I kind of feather the paint a little bit. Since I got this ombre, this sort of cloud transition going on, it's gonna be perfect. So what I'm gonna do is kind of do like the same pattern, like that, you know, versus trying to come in with a strong line. You still gonna see that harsh transition. So it's good that I'm just trying to keep it in that same sort of ombre effect. So you see how I'm kind of doing like this little swatch technique. I could use a bigger brush, so I'll be here all day trying to do that. This one isn't much bigger, but I do like the bristles on this. See that there? That's what we want. We want it to be like a bit smoother. I'll also smooth that out. We might be able to salvage this, y'all. We might be able to. But the thing is just to really feather it. We might really be able to save this. If they knew, then they don't know. I just break out into dance at times. So, yeah, not sorry. So, but welcome. If you are new, I probably told y'all that I have another video where I talk about how I prepare my canvases, gesso them, staple them to the wall and everything. So this canvas is stapled to the wall. There's little staples in here. But yeah, like if I wrap this canvas, so we would lose so much of this beautiful blue that's happening. And over here on the corner, like that's kind of even where I chalked this. We would lose all of this. And this is some of my favorite parts here. It's still not done, but we're working on it. Honestly, I can take this tape off because, oh, you want to see some ASMR? You want to see it? You want to see it? She's on one today. I'm geeky because I'm painting. It's been a while since I'm like, painting for me.
up in the gallery that is unstretched, and it's just like hung with grommets, and it's like a loose canvas, and I really liked the way that's displayed, so I'm thinking like maybe this one can be displayed in that way. Wow, that looks great. That looks so great.
Another fail that actually, maybe I put fail in the title or something, but of course, everything is just like happy accidents, okay? We're in our Bob Ross era where we don't have to bring negativity to the creative process. Just throughout this process, through years of painting on loose canvas roll, each canvas is different. It has different textures, different thickness, different weights, and that's shown throughout the number of the painting. Maybe in the future, I'll do a video talking specifically about what those numbers mean, but essentially, I don't know if we can cover it super quick. That would be a whole nother. Maybe I can add just a super quick chart here that'll help you get to the nuts and bolts of what those numbers mean. Now, considering those numbers, it's gonna affect how your paint is gonna glide on the canvas, how absorbent it's gonna be. And so for the Zodiac series that I did in the past, I was using this super thick canvas that I actually got for free from a local company out here in Washington. Of course, you all can watch that video to learn more about that. I'll also link them below because they're still giving out free canvas. And so it's the plug, okay? But what I realized about that canvas is that it's very thick. So because it's super thick, it's very heavy, and it can be difficult to stretch on stretcher bars, especially around the corners. Since it's so thick, it can kind of get bulky on the corners, which isn't really ideal. But since I end up framing a lot of those canvases from the Zodiac show, you didn't really even see the edges, so it was okay. But that is just something that I did notice. What was helpful, and what I will consider my number 3 fail, is that I was using the wrong amount of water for the wrong canvas. So let me explain. In my creative process, I use a lot of water, okay? In my studio vlogs, you'll see one of the first things that I do is wet the canvas. I pour paint. I'll actually lay the canvas roll flat on the ground. I love using Golden, specifically Golden's fluid acrylics, and even their high flow. And then I'll even add more water to some of their high flow to even make it more watery, okay? But when you are using a thinner canvas, the more water that you put on it, the more that it's gonna warp. Now, over time, I realized okay, it's fine. I don't mind this too much, but this is something to consider. And so that's why I am adding it to my quote unquote fails or / lessons that I've learned in using canvas roll. Now, in that process, I did find a hack in order to solve that issue, especially when I was displaying my loose canvas roll in its final exhibition presentation once it's stretched on canvas bars. This actually happened with one of my paintings called Mary's Lamb. That was on display at the Museum of History and Industry out here in Seattle, Washington. And it was a big exhibit. It was a big deal. I was super excited about it. My family was coming in town. And once I finally stretched this piece and realized how warped it was from all the water that I used to create the landscape portion of the painting, I was like, girl, we gotta fix this. The little trick that I use is watered down gesso. So first what I did, of course, finish the painting, let it warp, let it do its thing, it's fine. Once I stretched it on the stretcher bars, I turned the painting around and watered down some gesso and just brushed the back of the canvas. And gesso is really great. One, it primes the canvas. Of course, obviously we didn't need that for this situation because we were already done painting it. But the other thing that gesso does is pull the canvas really nice and tight tight. And because of that pulling action, it's going to get all those wrinkles out and smooth out your canvas really nice and beautifully. And that's what happened with the painting where I quote unquote failed and then later improved it. So I would say if you do use a lot of water like me, maybe use a thicker, a heavyweight canvas so that it's not warping as much. If you don't pour paint at all or just using like oil paints or something where you aren't adding a lot of water to your already acrylic paints, then you can probably use any canvas and it would be fine. I did have a lot of questions in my previous canvas video where people was asking like, does this work for watercolor? Does this work for oils? To tell y'all the truth, I'm not sure. I only use acrylic paints. In my studio practice, I play around with some watercolors, but I'm not sure. So I love the community out here on YouTube. So I encourage anyone maybe to give it a try and like make a video, and maybe there's another artist out there who could help share your tips with us. I am specifically emphasizing loose canvas roll in this video because that is primarily what I use. I do use pre-stretched canvas that I buy from the store as well. But I feel like that's kind of just basic to use, like you just buying it off the shelf. There aren't really too many ins and outs that you need to consider because it's already done and ready for you. When it is in this loose canvas roll or like a canvas fabric, side note, you'll see it called a lot of different things: canvas roll, canvas blanket. I was gonna say canvas tarp, but maybe it depends. You gotta be careful. Sometimes that can be considered something else. You know, like different industries can use the canvas and it can have different treatments or waxes on it. And so you gotta be careful. It is good to use raw canvas. Now, maybe we could talk, there's just so much we can talk about. Oh my God. I'm like, wait, but you can buy the pre-gesso canvas rolls at the store at Blick. Those are nice too. So there's just so many different things that you can do, but I do just want to make it clear that I am specifically talking about canvas rolls that's unprimed, raw, and some of the lessons that I learned on that journey. But there's so many different ways to use canvas. And now as I'm speaking about this, it's inspiring me for another video. Okay, so let me know if y'all have more questions. I would love to share. Another canvas mistake that I made. Now this connects more to the framing process, but it's still related, okay? And they say this all the time in carpentry and just like whenever you building something, measure twice, cut once, okay? But this also goes in regards to your canvases. So for me, I have to measure the canvas twice before I give my husband the dimensions on what to build for the frames. I'm super grateful. My husband, Andy, he has built my frames for my solo exhibit, the Zodiac show. And we actually share some of those tips in a video of how he built those frames. But there has been a time or two where I have given him the wrong, incorrect measurements. And so the canvas was off. Now we end up still using the stretcher bars, but since that kept happening more and more where so much of my stuff was off, it was almost inevitable for us to build frames for everything because just to cover up the edges, there was just so much mismatch that was going on, so much where based on canvas fail number one that I talked about in the beginning, where I didn't have enough canvas to wrap around the stretcher bars, to me not giving him the right measurements, to so many different things where it was like, you know what? Let's just build frames to cover up all these mistakes that I made. But this is something to keep in mind for the future. And now I'm sharing some of those tips with you all today. We're not even gonna speak on how I got this down by myself. Just know I'm safe. The paintings are safe. The frames are safe. And the stretcher bars are safe. I need to document this for my own reminder to never do that again. Okay, first of all, this sweat is perpetrating. Okay, like I'm not sweating that much because of this. Why is it 92 degrees in Seattle in May? Okay, y'all, like, climate change is real. But yeah, so in addition to me being Spider-Man, okay, that's why it's like, why am I so dirty? The beams up there are very dirty and very dusty. She had to make contact. She made contact, and yeah, it's just hot as hell though. This isn't from doing all of this, okay? Just know all is well. Not exactly though. I did scuff up the frames a little bit, but there's nothing that a little bit of spray paint can't fix, so.
In that vein of like incorrect measurements, specifically with my creative process, it's very intuitive, it's very go with the flow. I don't have too many plans whenever I'm starting out. So sometimes I'm not sure if I'm gonna stretch it later on stretcher bars or if I'm just gonna have it loose on canvas roll. Before I have displayed my paintings where it's loose, it's not wrapped on stretcher bars, and I just put grommets at the top. That's a really good method, because then when the show is done, you don't have to rent a truck, how I have done many of times. You can simply just roll it up in a tube. And I also have a video where I talk about how I store my large canvases. That video actually isn't that good. I feel like it's about time to redo that video, because it's kind of vloggy style, and it doesn't just get straight to the point of like helping people out. So sorry about that, but just know I just like roll it up in this PVC pipe. I put some paper down on it. I do them with the face of the painting on the inside. Some people were saying that they've heard to put it on the outside. I actually kind of do both, and I haven't really seen much of a difference. For me, I do like to put the face on the inside just so that the entire painting is protected. I feel like if the face is on the outside, now it's at risk for being scraped and scuffed and like all the different things. So I don't know, you can be your own judge on that process. But this also brings me to another lesson that I've learned in my canvas roll journey, okay? And that is, bigger is not always better, okay? And this is coming from the girl who loves to say, hey creators, welcome back to the studio. I love painting large scale, colorful cosmic queens. It's like, girl, they ain't gotta be that large scale. Like, pull it back, okay? Dial it back a bit. From me entering my 10-year journey of being a professional artist and displaying my work throughout the Pacific Northwest and doing it in the rain, in the cold, in all the different elements, in different studios where I've been on the first floor, I've been on the second floor, I've been at home. I've had so many different experiences throughout my creative career. And I feel like one of the big hurdles for me that I've created for myself really has been painting so big. And now I love painting big. It really started out in my experience as a muralist, where I paint murals around the city. And so I was like, okay, let me bring some of that like huge, big energy here back into my studio. But it's like, okay, it's different when you painted a mural on the side of the building that just stays there for the people, they can enjoy it, versus me working on something here in my studio that now I have to pack up and take out to the people. You know, it creates a lot of barriers for me and my team and my husband. Look, my team, AKA my husband. Shout out to all the supportive partners of artists out there. Like, we need you. You matter. You're important. You're valuable. We love you so much. We couldn't do what we do without you. Yeah, so my team, my husband. No, I did have a team before. Super grateful for Shannon and Alicia, who helped me so much during my Zodiac show. And they were actually featured in that vlog. I believe so. And so, yes, they were pivotal to making it happen. And so a team is super helpful and super important. But it's also like, okay, consider your team. Consider your people. Are you making it harder than what you need to? I'm over it. Okay? I'm over it. It's overrated. Bigger is not always better. And your girl is shrinking down her pain significantly as I entered this new journey of motherhood. And it's been beautiful. It's been humbling. And I've been learning a lot around taking it slow, taking it easy, and how can I make things simpler for myself. And so that's what I'm doing on this journey. If you're still in the Canvas groove and want to learn more, this is where I share all those details in my original video, where I answer a lot of your questions about Canvas. If you A1 since day one, been around for a minute, but a little bit behind, feeling knowing that your girl is carrying her little one, okay? I share more in this vlog where I talk about I'm painting a mama bear and now I'm also becoming one, okay? So you all can pick your poison, whichever one you want to dive into. I hope this video was helpful for y'all. Thank you all so much for being here and I hope to see you soon. Peace out.